So I'm sure a lot of you guys remember when the movie Batgirl got canceled and the absolute chaos they came from it because all the woke people that would have never went to go see that movie guaranteed in theaters, they all wanted to come out on Twitter and pretend like this was going to be the movie of the year, that they were going to go see this, that they were actually going to spend money for real this time. No, we promise we're actually going to go support this movie, even though it's been historically proven that woke people do not support the movies that they shill for online, but that's neither here nor there. Apparently, the directors Bilal Fallah and Adil El Arbi consider scrapping of the Batgirl historic. So they consider the scrapping of this movie historic, and that they've basically become part of movie history without even trying to become part of movie history. That's the mindset that they're trying to have about this. Whether you want to consider this a positive mindset or whether you want to consider this to somehow trying to dumb it down over the fail that is Batgirl, that's up to you to decide. But I think it's pretty funny that the directors are trying to speak on this and trying to make it seem like something that it's not. So let's get into the article, guys. This was from Bounding Into Comics. Links in the description box below. It says directors Bilal Fallah and Adil El Arbi consider scrapping of the Batgirl historic. We've kind of become part of movie history without even trying. Guys, if you could just throw a like on the video, I would greatly appreciate it. It helps the channel grow. It helps push out the video, and it's going to help us beat the YouTube suppression. So it says, it happens all the time in Hollywood, despite what you probably hear, but the cancellation of the Leslie Grace-led Batgirl happened so suddenly and took aback so many that the event came across as unprecedented. For the directors of the aborted project, Bilal Fallah and Adil El Arbi, it certainly was, to the point of feeling as if they were part of history. Now, with Batgirl being canceled, everybody kind of saw Batgirl getting canceled. Like, it was one of those things where nobody really thought that this show was going to do any sort of good. This movie, I'm sorry, not this show. This movie, nobody thought this movie was going to do any sort of good because it was a typical fucking Hollywood woke nonsense, right? So they race swapped the character. That's number one. Number two, it wasn't a true adaptation in the slightest. Like, nobody was even, aside from names, it wasn't going to be an actual true adaptation. This is going to be something that Hollywood constantly thinks that they can make something better than what was in the past. They look at past stories and they love that those stories come with a lot of clout, because with the clout, they think the money's going to follow. But then they think that they have better writers. They think that they can write a better story than the past did. So they try to change everything, to try to wokeify it, to diversify it. Whatever word you want to use, whatever cringe saying you want to use, it doesn't matter. That's what they try to do. Whether you want to deny it or not, that's up to you. But that is what happens. They try to change it all the time. We see it all the time. It's almost a meme at this point. How many times do we see white people? How many times do you, especially redheaded girls? How many times do we see ginger girls getting completely erased from media and being replaced with black girls? We see it all the time. It is a nonstop thing. It is a joke at this point. It's been a joke for a while. Like with The Last of Us, the HBO Last of Us is coming out. We made the joke. I remember way back when we made the joke on one of the live streams, and I'm like, watch them race swap Joel's daughter. Watch them race swap Joel himself. I guarantee you they're going to do it. And lo and behold, that's exactly what they did. It is such a joke. It is so predictable, and honestly, it's nauseating. It's nauseating. It really is, because this is not doing anything for minorities. For all those people who are like, oh, cope, white boy, cope. I'm not white. I'm fucking Latino. I've said it multiple times. So I think it's a joke. I think it's a huge joke. No Latino is going to benefit from this. No black person is going to benefit from this. It is all fake for all these white elite liberals that are in Hollywood to claim their fake diversity checkboxes so that they could keep making more money and raising their ESG scores. That's all they care about. So it says this is what they are saying, courtesy of the Hollywood Reporter. Now that they can look back at the debacle while looking forward to their next endeavors, this is something that never happened before, so we've kind of become part of movie history without even trying. RB said at the thought, or rather the consolation of being caught up in something historic, at least. From the perspective of Warner Brothers Discovery, the decision was business, but also an erring of a sort of the side of caution. Believing Batgirl was not actually ready for release, they weren't going to put it out there. We're not going to launch a movie until it's ready, they said in a statement contrary to rumors and other reports. We're not going to launch a movie to make a quarter, and we're not going to put a movie out unless we believe in it. They add in a story that's theirs, and they're sticking to it. Others, including YouTube Dictor Van Doomcock and his reputed inside sources, tell a tale of saving face, defying wokeness, and preventing Michael Keaton's legacy from being sullied. For Falal and Arby, however, making Batgirl was a chance to live a dream. You've got to imagine, Arby continued, we're two fanboys, and for 1 second we were in the Batman universe, following in the footsteps of Zack Snyder and Christopher Nolan, and then it was just like we woke up and it was a dream. Well, that's because it was a dream. It was a dream. Like, you guys trying to make this Batgirl into something more than what she was. It's a terrible adaptation. Like, nobody was going to see this movie. It was going to be a fail. I guarantee you it was going to be another story. How many stories do we hear all the time of countless movies coming out in Hollywood with XYZ budgets, not even including marketing, not even including the ticket sale cuts that the movie theaters take. How much money do these people lose? They lose so much money. This is the reason why David Zaslav has taken over in the first place, because he is simply there to turn the ship around. He is there to try to make the money where nobody else was focused on making money. Everybody else was focused on everything else other than money at Warner Brothers and Discovery. So they are going to now turn the ship around. At least that's what he is claiming. Whether they actually do or don't, I don't know. That's still remaining to be seen. But there is a lot of changes coming for their movies. There's a lot of changes coming to their studios. Obviously, you guys know James Gunn and Peter Safran took over DC Studios. So there's a lot of things that are happening that seems to be leading towards the whole massive changes that they promised. But I really don't have a lot of faith. It's still Hollywood at the end of the day. So even if it's three people at the helm, those three people have to work with a whole thousands upon thousands of woke idiots that are in Hollywood. All these people who are there, they're still there. So it doesn't matter. Unless you fire everybody, it's not going to happen. So I just don't have a lot of faith in anything that Hollywood produces. It says, in the eyes of some, WBD took that dream and snapped it like Zod's neck at the end of Man of Steel. Depending on whom you ask, it's a downer of an ending for the character of Batgirl and two young, prolific filmmakers. But in the aftermath, Arby and Falah received tremendous support from their peers and fans that were anticipating the film. It was unbelievable how much support we got, Falah said. There was so much support from people in the industry. It felt like all the artists were supporting us, and that's a great feeling because you feel like you're not alone. Some of the industry insiders who expressed sympathy were English filmmaker Edgar Wright, the outspoken Kevin Smith, and DC Studios' own James Gunn. The duo is willing to work with him down the line, but under one rather obvious condition. Yeah, we still work with them, but on the condition that the movie comes out. I mean, if Warner says, do you want to do the next Batman or Superman? Of course, we'll say yes, just so long as the movie comes out, Falah added. Well, the movie will have a higher chance of coming out if you can convince not only the main people at the studios, but the people who are going to watch the movie in a test screening. You need to get some hype behind the movie, you know what I mean? And obviously, Batgirl just didn't have that level of hype. Batgirl got really bad reviews in the test screening, and that's kind of what led, or let's just say that's kind of what led to the initial downfall for Batgirl on top of everything else. And you know it was going to be bad if the studio decides to take a tax cut over actually releasing the movie. That's how little faith they had in the product itself. So you must admit at some point that you fucked up. You have to. I understand a lot of these directors these days, they don't want to admit when they messed up. You got a lot of Patty Jenkins out there that just don't want to admit when their product isn't very good, and they're just so self-absorbed. But at the end of the day, if your movie is chosen to be a tax cut over actually being released and gaining money because they have no faith in it, then you know somewhere down the line you messed up and you got to take accountability. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy, and if you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought of today's story, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.